so fortunate that I have about the coolest mom in the world. And she's a badass. And she's a badass because many years ago, she got into astrology and took to it like water, and has such a beautiful gift. I think it's a gift because it's so complicated that you need to have a gift to understand it. And over the years, not only has she helped me significantly in every area of my life, just giving me information that just has been so helpful for me, not only to understand myself, but to understand what's happening in the world. But she's now helped thousands of my friends all over the world as well. And so we're having this call because I don't know if many of you guys know, and I'm really fascinated by it, and this is kind of why I wanted to do it with my mom. This with my mom is to get some deeper information about these aspects, this huge alignment that's going to happen on the 21st of December, and really what that means and what it is and why, and also some other things that my mom wants to talk about, like 5D and all this other stuff. So we're going to jump right into it. And without further ado, my amazing, fabulous mom, if you want to say anything before we start asking the first question.
Now, do I want to say something? Is that what you said?
Yeah, before we start.
No, Misty, of course, is very prejudiced, but I'm glad I've been helpful as a mom. Sometimes we struggle with that, you know? So, but what's your first question, honey?
First question. Also, my mother's fabulous because she accepts us all beautifully the way that we are in our craziness. Okay, so let's go for the first question. First question is, like I said, we're all aware that you may or not be aware that there's some massive astrological alignments that are happening on December 21st. And I just want to know, what are they and what do they mean?
Okay. Well, first of all, let me say that there's been a lot of hype about it. And when I hear some of the hype, I go, I don't think so. You know, it's like when everybody was doing the Y2K, you know, that the world was going to end with Y2K. And of course it didn't. And so there's a lot of hype about the things that people think may happen. This is an extraordinary day. There are extraordinary aspects, but let's discuss them. And one of the things that we have to understand is that a lot of people won't even feel those energies. The way we're going to get the most out of this is if we all unite in meditation and project what we want for humanity. This is a portal. It's an opening where we can manifest more quickly, more rapidly. So in order to get the most out of it, you need to be in prayer and meditation that day. You need to be projecting what you want the world to look like and what you want to happen. Okay, it isn't just going to be automatic for all of us, like woohoo, you know, sparklers and all of that kind of thing. So we have to participate. The veil will be thinner that day, okay, and take advantage of that and that frequency. We're going to talk more about frequency later, but there are 5 main interesting mixed aspects that we're going to be dealing with on the 21st.
And 1 second, Mom, if everybody could mute their microphones and keep them muted, would be great, because it'll interfere and it takes over the camera and it disrupts the conversation. So if you could just quick check to make sure your microphone is muted. There's that little red line through the microphone, would be great. Oh, and Mom, as part of this question too, you could tie this in at the same time, is that also curious about that this is a time, like you said, that's going to usher in this new earth. And the golden age, and if that's true. So if you could kind of tie all that in together, would be awesome. Yeah, at Rinda, I think you need to mute your mic, babe. And Mom,
your mom's mic is muted, so we can't hear.
Yeah, Mom, your mic is muted. Unmute your mic.
Got it. Okay. So did you guys hear anything I said? Oh, okay. Can you hear?
We heard, but the last like maybe 30 seconds we didn't hear.
Okay. All right. So there are about 5 interesting aspects that are unusual that are going on at this time. And they coincide exactly with the Capricorn solstice or the winter solstice. And all the solstice really means, it has to do with the time. Okay, so when we hit the solstice, that means we're experiencing shorter days. And then when we get to the next solstice, then the days get longer. So it has to do with timing, all right? And the timing of this is beautiful. We talk, and I have talked so much about on my videos about how Capricorn has affected the world. When it entered, when Capricorn entered Pluto, into the sign of Pluto in 2008, everything changed financially on the planet. Crash, crash, burn, you know, and what's happened ever since then with Pluto in Capricorn is the destruction of the structures that no longer serve us, from governments to business to whatever. And I say that to you again because I want you to understand how important it is when Pluto changes signs. It's not insignificant, it's very significant. Okay, so what's going on now is that Saturn and Jupiter are coming together into this conjunction. Now, they have not been this close together since 1623. And they have not been in the sign together in Aquarius since 1405. So this is rare. This Pluto and Saturn coming together in Aquarius is rare. All right. Now they come together all the time, you know, every couple of years, 2 or 3 years, and even, I think it might even be longer than that in some cases. And so it's not uncommon that they come together. What is uncommon is that for many, many, many years, it's been in earth signs, Capricorn and Taurus and Virgo and all of that. But now it's in an air sign, Aquarius. And it's going to be in Aquarius now every time they come together for hundreds of years. The difference between earth and air are this. Earth signs are practical. They are structured, okay, like we see with Capricorn, our big business, you know, all of the structure that we experience. It's tradition, it's the past, okay? But when you get into Aquarius and into air, it's a whole different kettle of fish. And what happens is that it's all about innovation. It's all about truth and change, okay, and freedom, okay? So isn't that an interesting thing to think about, the difference, okay? And for Jupiter, both Jupiter and Saturn, and they're considered personal planets, coming together in Capricorn, coming together in Aquarius, we can see them with the naked eye. When that happens on the 21st, I want you guys to go out there and look in the western sky. It will look like a great big star. Now, there are people who talk about, well, is this like the Star of Bethlehem? I think very much it is, because the wise men were astrologers. That's why they were considered wise. Okay. They knew what they were following. They knew the heavens, you know, they knew what was going on planetarily, but they saw something interesting and followed it. And that's why it was considered or called the Star of Bethlehem. So that's what's going to happen. They're so close together right now within a degree, or they will be on the 21st, that they're going to look like one just big thing, one big star. And the only way you'll be able to see them separate is you will be able to use binoculars will help. If you have strong binoculars or a monocle or a telescope, you can actually see the rings on Saturn, and you can actually see the moons of Jupiter. So if you get that opportunity on the 21st at night, do that. Go see it, because it will be spectacular and it will not happen again in your lifetime. Okay? Very, very rare. Now, let's talk about this reset that we're going into. And this is a reset. And this is the precursor for the age of Aquarius. And some people say, oh no, this is ushering in. No, not quite. This is a precursor for us to get used to the energies. And we will not firmly enter the age of Aquarius until Pluto goes into Aquarius in November of 2024. Okay, then we will be firmly ensconced in the age of Aquarius. And that particular aspect of Aquarius, or Pluto in Aquarius, will last for 20 years. And we're in the last, interestingly enough, the last part of Pluto in Capricorn, where we still haven't dissolved or broken up or gotten rid of all of the structures that are no longer viable, that are corrupt, that are spoiled. Okay. And so for the next 3.5 years, Pluto in Capricorn is going to still be doing its work of breaking up these structures. Okay. Now, it's interesting that right now too, with the election and all the stuff going on, that Saturn right now and Jupiter right now are at the final degrees of Capricorn. So when you get those final degrees, now each sign is 30 degrees. Okay, so a planet typically is in a sign for approximately 30 degrees. Now it can be, and I won't get into the timing because it's too complicated, but right now Capricorn and Saturn and Jupiter are at the 28th, 29th, and 30th degree of Capricorn. So what that means is you're finishing up the business that needs to be finished up before it shifts into the new sign of Aquarius, and then things will start to shift in new beginnings. We're going to hear more of the truth, okay? We're going to have really good new ideas that we're going to be starting with. Now, I want you to understand too, Saturn is no, typically, and Jupiter is yes. So we're going to have this back and forth. Yes, should we move forward with these innovative ideas, or no, should we not? Now, the no is typically based on the fact that it is Saturn will reject things that aren't traditional. Okay, and Saturn will say, no, it's not traditional. We have to follow tradition. And Jupiter is saying, let's move on. We already have seen what this has created. We don't want this anymore. Let's move on. Let's not worry about tradition. Where did they start anyway, these crazy traditions? And so we want to be moving on, and that's what Aquarius does. Okay, it helps us move on. Now, more truth is going to come out. This is a reset. Okay, and we want to keep our ears clued in to the clues, what's really going on. The other thing we don't want to do is to have knee-jerk reactions to some of the things that we see. We want to observe and not get too excited about what we see, because most of what comes out when there's all of this angst, we really can't believe it anyway. We don't know how truthful it is. So sit back and just listen, just observe and watch. Okay. Now, we want to shift into this time with confidence. If you are intuitive, you may have already started feeling that something's going on. Have some of you felt that? Shake your heads if you've been feeling some that we can start feeling, and the higher frequency that you are, the more information you get, because the veil gets thinner and thinner as we move from the third dimensional reality, which is what the world is in now, with all the fighting and the vitriol and all the horrible stuff going on, But the higher you raise in frequency up to the 5th dimensional frequency, it's a completely different world. The veil is very thin up there. You get so much more information and a lot of peace and a lot of joy and a lot of love. So that's what's in store for us. And we'll talk more about frequency in a bit. Now, we're being shown what must change. And we're being given guidance as to how to restructure and what the new potential is, okay? We have learned about ourselves a lot the last few months. What have you, and I want you to write down these questions. What have you learned about yourself since the pandemic? How have you changed? What have you left behind? Now, what we all have to remember as humans is we typically don't evolve unless we're in pain. We just go along, Pollyanna, everything's fine. What do we need to make different choices for? And then the pain hits. And then, oh my God, I got to make different choices, don't I? Because this isn't working anymore. It's too painful. It's too uncomfortable. And that is the situation that the world is in right now. We're in pain. We're uncomfortable. This is not normal, right? And the only way we're really going to get out of it is if all of us unite together, okay, in meditation and in prayer, visualizing what we want, and then all of us in a united way say, no, we're not doing this anymore. No, we're starting something new. But it's that culmination of all of us speaking that at the same time that things will then change. So it does require our participation. And even if and it's probably better that you don't go out in the streets and get involved in the vitriol, civil wars or whatever they'll be, because that's low frequency. That's clear down in the 3D. We want to get out of that. We want to move up into 5D. And when you're involved with people in rage and hate and anger, that pulls you down back into that. And it blocks your ability to see the higher things. So frequency and maintaining your frequency every day is really, really important. Now, every morning, you should be getting up and going into gratitude, thanking God for all that you have, that you're grateful for. Whatever your concept of God, it doesn't matter. Just thank your Creator for those things every day, and then go into frequency shift. Now, what I do, and I'll just share with you, is I have coffee with my boys in the morning. I bring my coffee to my computer and I listen to Il Divo, very high frequency music. Oh my God. And if you're listening to music or something beautiful and it makes you start to cry, guess what? It's touched your heart. And guess what? That's high frequency. So oftentimes I cry when I listen to them because it's so beautiful. I've been listening to them sing Over the Rainbow. Oh my God. And I keep replaying it because it's so beautiful. I'm crying every time, but I spend 10 or 15 minutes in high frequency music every morning, and that sets the tone for the day. Now, if you do that, and it is your personal responsibility to do that, we can't rest on other people's light. We have to create our own light. Okay. So if you do that every day, and it gets higher and higher, then you're pretty unaffected by the stuff that's going on around you because you're in control of your emotions and your frequency. And when you do that, you're more centered into the Aquarian energy. And that's what we want. We want to solidly get into that innovative, free, beautiful, truthful, kind, loving energy. And those are the higher frequencies or the higher attributes of Aquarius: kindness, cooperation, innovation, truth. The lower frequencies of Aquarius are coldness, being cold, detached, pulled away. Now, I think it's good that we detach from the vitriol, but at the same time, we want to be warm and loving and raising our frequencies so that we have more of the higher octave of Aquarius. The other thing about Aquarius that's really important, it's an air sign. We know that Gemini and Libra are both air signs, but Aquarius is different than Gemini. What Aquarius is the higher mind functions of air signs. It's pulling in stuff from the ether up there and bringing it down into the world. That's what Aquarius does. Aquarius energy has tons of good ideas. Now, a few people who are connecting and doing all the stuff that you need to do to raise your frequency and to be more connected with the veil thinner in that space, you're going to get ideas. You're going to get more ideas. And I want you to write them down. They say the palest ink is better than the best memory. Write the ideas down, journal them. I counsel my clients to get a journal, and towards the back of the journal, just list your ideas so that you won't lose them. And there'll be a time where it'll go, oh, I had that idea. What was that? And you can go back and look at it. If you enter them in with the rest of your journal, you'll just get caught up in looking at all the other stuff. You want them listed separately, okay? So they'll be easy to access, all right? So the next thing that we want to talk about, the next aspect, has to do with Saturn and Mercury. Now, guess what? They come together on that day at 0 degrees of Capricorn. Interesting. 0 degrees. Well, Aquarius or Saturn and Jupiter are also at 0 degrees of a new sign. Now that's extraordinary to have 4 planets at 0 degrees on the same day. So it was extraordinary for Jupiter and Saturn, but to have the Sun and Mercury. Okay, now let's discuss what Mercury is about. And we've talked about this before in some of my other videos. Mercury is about communication. And when it's conjunct the Capricorn Sun, all right, Capricorn, business, big government, big money. We're going to be getting information about all of the structures in society. Okay. Now, one of the things about air signs, Aquarius, is it's all over the place. It's scattered, right? It's like wind. If you think of going outside and you see the air, it's blowing and it doesn't have any structure to it, does it? No structure to wind. Okay. So when you get these air signs, they're going to come up with ideas, but Capricorn has to come in and say, is this something we can ground? Is this something we can utilize to help the people, to help the struggle? Okay. So we do need some of that. We need some structure. We just don't need structure that destroys our freedom. Does that make sense? We all need a little structure. We need systems to be able to utilize things. And so that's good. So as this new Aquarian energy comes in, we've got Mercury and we've got the Sun helping us to be grounded, a little more grounded than what air signs are. Now, Mercury goes also into the sign of Aquarius, and I think it's the 9th of January. Yeah. So then we'll have 3 planets in Aquarius, and Mercury will be in Aquarius for about a month. So adding to that air energy and communicating about it as we usher in 2021, what will be communicated, okay, in terms of innovation, doing something new. Now Saturn, or excuse me, the sun will be in Capricorn, you know, until it goes into Aquarius, which is about the 20th, right around the 20th of January. And so then we will have the sun, Jupiter, and Saturn in Aquarius. And for a short period of time, we'll also have Mercury. So we'll have 4 planets in Aquarius as we go into Jupiter and excuse me, January and then into February. So lots more energy of ideas, truth. That's the thing. We want the truth. I think people are so hungry to get the truth. And in your meditations and your prayers and you're connecting into the higher realms, be sure and pray for the world, that we will get the truth of what's really happening. It's like, if we don't have the truth, we don't know what to fight, or not even fight. We don't know what to think about it. If all we're getting is just nonsense, you know, in the media, we don't know what to battle. We don't have anything true to anchor us to fight for. So we want to ask and thank God for showing us the truth of things. I think that's truly important. And with that Aquarian energy, that's part of it. So we have the Saturn, Jupiter, and then we have the sun and Mercury all at 0 degrees. Okay, powerful, which means new beginnings on both fronts. All right. Then the next one that we have is, let me get it here. Okay, we have Mars square Pluto. Now this is huge. And it's been doing this dance, Mars and Pluto in a square, for a long, long time. And I'm talking years, the last couple of years. And what that means is revolution. Pluto is all about the death of the old and birth of the new. And when it's impacted by Mars energy, it can become explosive. Well, what have we been seeing? Right? A lot of explosive behavior. Now, Pluto's job is to change us, to help us evolve. Okay, and so they're going to be lined up together for several months, finishing off this revolution, this evolution that we as humanity have to move forward with. We can no longer, and we as people know that, we can no longer be stuck in these corrupt and corrosive structures. Okay, and so Mars and Pluto are going to be helping with that. Now, what this is the completion or culmination of a process or issues that affect the people, things that need to be worked out. This aspect represents, now this is so interesting. These are important things to see: ruthless drive and ambition, achieving objectives at all costs, brutality, conflict, strong and intense, public outbursts and power struggles, realigning our priorities, ruthlessness. Have we seen much of that lately? I mean, when you start describing the definition of Pluto and Mars, then you get a real picture of what's going on in the world, don't you? And it's not like all of a sudden up in the sky, we have these words that come, oh, this is what you're dealing with. No, these energies can be very subtle and can be very unpredictable. And knowing what they're about is really, really helpful. Like I say, people who are unconscious, they're just being motivated by all the stuff that they see and their knee-jerk reactions to everything. No, people, sit back, watch, observe, and get a better perspective of how you want to move forward, because what they say is going to change. What's out there in the ethers in terms of what's going on the planet and what people are putting out there in the collective consciousness is a lot of crazy stuff. You don't want to be associated with that third dimensional behavior. All right, now, let's see. The other one that we have, and we have it only on that day, and that's the moon conjunct Neptune in Pisces. Now, when you have moon Neptune, you have neediness, you have illusion, you have needing comfort, not seeing reality, sacrifice, martyrdom, fantasy, unconscious forces influencing the imagination, world not seeing what is real, and sensitive to the influence from the past. Now that's just that day, but that's powerful stuff. Now the final one, and this dance has been going on for a few years. And the reason why is they involve outer planets, and outer planets like Uranus and Neptune and Pluto move very slowly. So their aspects take a long time. Okay. So Saturn square Uranus. And this is a big deal. Okay. Saturn, of course, is structure. And what is Uranus? Shake up, break up. Shake up that structure, break it up, cause the chaos, cause the pain, cause the stress and discomfort. Why? So we make better choices moving forward. It's designed to be uncomfortable. Now utilize that discomfort to decide what you want to move forward with in terms of your choices, okay? To make things more comfortable. That's human nature, okay? None of these aspects are arbitrary. They are purposeful. This system of astrology was designed by God. He created the heavens and the earth. This is a system that is so sophisticated and so complex that it makes everyone unique. It makes every era different. It makes us evolve through pain, which is what we all need. We need a good slap now and then, right? So don't get too comfortable for a while, because these energies are going to be back and forth for a while. Saturn, Uranus, and let's see, let me give you the dates here. Big changes in the 3D world. There are and will be serious choices for us ahead. A breakthrough in our awareness. This is the third exact dance of these two planets that will start in February and again in October of 2022. And they won't be out of orb until February of 2023. So they're not done with their work. You get that? Okay. The answers are going to take work. And there's going to be more stuff that's going to be broken up. Governments shifting, priorities shifting. Okay. So we've got that coming. And let me talk about an orb of influence. And I've mentioned this in some of my other videos. When a planet, so say we have Saturn right here, okay? And Uranus is moving close to it. Well, how close does it get before it affects it? Okay, so with an outer planet, you're looking at, some of the major astrologers use a 15-degree orb. So 15 degrees before it hits here and 15 degrees after it passes. So you got 30 degrees of this strong energy. And oftentimes, so you get Uranus here and it's coming closer and it gets up to here and then it goes retrograde and moves back out again and moves back out. And then it's time to do more work and it comes forward and does a little more pressure. It's the pressure. It's like the pressure of a pressure cooker. And haven't you felt that in the world right now? That we're in a pressure cooker? And that's the Saturn Uranus energy. We're in a pressure cooker and it feels sometimes like it's just going to explode. We feel it on an internal level. And that's another important thing, is you want to know where these energies play out in your life. And the only way we can do that is for you to look at your chart. If you have your chart, it would be really good to look at where the energies of Saturn and Aquarius and those things are in your chart. If you want to have me read that for you, I'm offering specials, and I'll put that below the video when I post it, so that you can determine what areas of your life are going to be impacted by these energies, or have been impacted for the last few years by these energies. None of us are the same, are we? It's amazing, isn't it? And isn't it amazing to see how fast the entire world can change? Look what's happened in not even a year's period of time. Amazing, okay, what's happened. So now those are the main aspects that are happening. And I wanted to touch on this because I think it's important. You want to work and experiment with the higher frequencies. Every day you want to do that. Go outside, absorb light. Now, maybe I mentioned at the beginning, I can't remember. Some people are talking about and I've listened to scientists talk about it, that there will be maybe a huge solar flare on that day, bringing more light onto the planet to help dispel the darkness. So if your weather's decent and you've got sunshine, go out in the sun. Get out there, get out in the light, in the natural light, spend time there, because that also helps to raise your frequency. Because the light from the sun is what keeps our frequency high. And we know, based on the Schumann resonance, that the frequency on the planet is raising continually. Okay. And one of the ways we know that even now is back in the days past, and I'm thinking of, and I can't think of his name, who was considered a real psychic. He could only access the Akashic records when he was in a trance state, because the frequency on the planet was too low. Now we can access the Akashic records individually by just opening the records with the prayers and keeping our frequency high. Isn't that a blessing that we can do that now because of the raise in the frequency on the planet? So pay attention to that. One of the things about awareness, and of course awareness is where we all want to be. One of the things about that that's so important is that as we become aware of our thinking at any given time, where we know what we're thinking, we have the power to shift it. If you don't pay attention to your thoughts, then you're just allowing your mind to take you wherever it wants to go. Just because you think it doesn't make it true. Our minds are always fooling us, tricking us, okay? So what you want to do is be aware of your thinking. Now, I know in the mornings when I get up, and maybe some of you can relate to this, you know, you're groggy and your mind starts going over old stuff. And so I keep my phone now in the bathroom where I can turn on a video, a YouTube video, and allow that to influence my thinking. So like Eckhart Tolle, he's great. I love to listen to him. And he's one that got his consciousness in a day, in a minute. It was like, you know, he went from knowing nothing to seeing everything. And he spent a whole year on his friend's couch trying to integrate everything that he found out to be true, which was opposite of what he thought. And I highly recommend his books, The Power of Now and The New Earth. Now, Oprah Winfrey did a whole series of classes with him online about 12, 13 years ago on this book. powerful, changed people's lives. So if you haven't read it, read it. It's fabulous. Now, but you've got to control your thinking, okay? Become aware of your thoughts. And, you know, when you start really becoming aware, you go, oh, am I thinking that again? Oh my gosh. And you immediately flip it. If something negative comes into your mind about yourself, like, oh, I'm such a failure, whatever, you go, no, I'm really succeeding in this life. Do you see how you flip things? Flip them immediately, but you must learn to hear your thoughts all the time, every minute of every day. You have that awareness. Okay. Really important, especially in this time that we're living in. Okay. Let's see. Raise your frequency. We talked about that. Oh, and helping other people. One of the terms I heard lately was, let's help wake up the sleeping lions. There are powerful people out there who aren't yet awake. Okay, now, what is the new earth? What is the Great Awakening? What is the new earth that they're talking about? Well, a lot of people are waking up. They're calling this the Great Awakening because why? The frequency is raising on the planet, so we're getting more information, but all of us are living in discomfort and pain. And what's that doing to people? Waking them up. What is this? This doesn't feel right. This isn't normal. People are waking up. They're paying attention. They're doing their critical thinking. They're doing their research. That's what the awakening is. Awakening to the state of the world, but also awakening to who you truly are. Who are you? Why are you here? You're magnificent. You're an extension of God. You were created by God, and it doesn't matter what your concept of God is, there's a creator. You were and we were created by him. We are an extension of his light, and we have that light within all of us. So in our third dimensional world, we have been pushed down, not to understand our magnificence. Does that make sense? Have all of you felt that? That you have to conform, you have to be like this. If you're not acceptable, you know, and it just goes round and round and round all your life. Unless you're somebody like Misty. She's always gone her own way and been her own self. And that's really important, that you have unique abilities, unlike anyone else. And the goal is for you to find your path that brings you joy. And that's what you came here to experience, was joy. Find out what brings you joy and utilize it moving forward, and help wake up the sleeping lions that are there, that need to see their magnificence in order to move forward. There's, who was it that said, and I can't remember, that we're not afraid of success, we're afraid of our power. We're afraid of how powerful we are because we were taught that only government has power or religions have power, and we have to rely on what they tell us in order to be powerful. No. You develop your direct connection to the divine and learn about your magnificence and take your life forward with confidence in your path and in your happiness and in your joy. Okay, real important, especially at this time of enlightenment. Now the new earth, and this has a lot of, there are different philosophies about it. Okay, there have been those that have said that the earth will literally separate, and you will have the 3D world here and the 5D world here. And the 5D world is characterized by what we read in the Bible, where it says the lamb will lie down with the lion and we'll have 1,000 years of peace. Okay, that's what people are talking about. Whether it separates, okay, off into literally another planet that is the new Earth, or it separates by dimension. Now, when we're in the 5th dimensional realm up here, okay, we're oblivious to this stuff down here. It just doesn't even affect you, okay? And so with the 5D world and the high frequency, we could carry on our lives and the 3D people wouldn't even know we were here. Interesting thing about UFOs and aliens. No, we know they exist. I mean, hello. But you know what they do so we can't see them? They change their frequency. They just up their frequency to a higher frequency and we can't see them. They're smarter than us about a lot of things. Okay. And so the frequency and energy is everything. Everything. And I had a mentor one time, and the woman that was working with him said that late at night, there would be this light that would come out from under his door. And she would go, oh, I would love to see what was going on in there, because the light was not from a light switch or a lamp. This was the light of God that was emanating from his room. Look at the power that we have. What does Christ tell us in the Bible? That we can do it too. We have the ability to be like him, to manipulate energy, to heal people with that energy and with that frequency. We have that ability. So don't knock yourself down, build yourself up. Whoa, I want to learn how to do that. I want to learn how to be aware of my thinking and increase my frequency so I can get more information, so I can be comfortable in the 5D realm. Okay. And Misty, do you have any more questions as it relates to the planetary stuff?
Well, just some comments on what you said, that to be really mindful and aware of the program of fear, and that we are programmed right now to be in fear because it keeps our frequency down, because those that know, the ones that really run the show know this stuff. Mm-hmm. And that's why they want to keep you terrified of this virus. They want to keep you terrified and locked in your home. They want you afraid to even touch another person. They want you so afraid because it is the lowest frequency possible. And so when you start getting into that fear mode and you go into fear and all of that, it's almost impossible to come out. And it's a deliberate plan, because they don't want us to wake up. They want to instill this chaos and this plan and whatever it is that whatever you want to believe about it. I have my own thoughts about it, but I know that this fear mongering, we have to be really careful of it and really mindful of it. And that's why when my mom says, really watching your thoughts, it's noticing what those thoughts, if any of those thoughts are fear-based, and like if you're afraid of something, and to really consider what that does to you. And it'll make you literally sick. The fear alone will make you sick more than the virus. I mean, I don't know about any, like I had COVID, but I live in such a high frequency, like no symptoms, no nothing. And all my friends around me got COVID, nobody symptoms, nobody nothing. And I know people have been infected by it, so I'm aware of that. But I know that I wasn't affected because my frequency was so high, because I keep myself in a really high frequency, and I don't let these types of fear mongering work on me, because I know what the plan is. So I don't let it work. I don't let it seep in, and to realize that your thoughts, you've been programmed since you were a child to believe so much bullshit, and that you have to really question your thoughts. Like what my mom said, is to go through questioning your thoughts to know what is actually true. And a good teacher for that, my mom's mentioned some really good teachers, but another really good teacher is Byron Katie. And Byron Katie does this thing called the work. So if you're struggling with your thoughts, she helps you actually find the truth within yourself, your own truth with your own thoughts. And so that's a powerful tool as well. It's another little morning thing I used to do all the time, because I realized I was lying to myself about everything. Like we normally do, like, fear and doubt and all of those things, they're lies. They're all lies. And that's not what we were built for, or any of that. And also, just my own little note, Mom, is I like to refer to God as a he, she, it, because I think if God is anything, it's a woman. So, in my own opinion,
I know.
yeah,
And I
I'm
have
just saying.
lots of
I'm
clients
just.
that, but what I have to do, and you guys have to forgive me for this, is I talk about it in my vernacular.
Right.
Okay, this is how I relate to it, but you can take the things and relate to them your own way. What resonates with you? That's what you have to think about every day. Does this information resonate with me? Does it make me feel better, or does it make me feel worse? And when they talk about fear, they talk about it that fear is the real virus.
Right.
And there are philosophies out there that suggest that if your frequency is the frequency of the virus, it makes it easier to catch.
Because the virus has a frequency.
Yep, it does.
Everything has a frequency, and that's what's so important. And Mom, like when I'm talking about 5D, because this is a whole thing, like 5D frequency, 5D thinking, 5D action, like what that is. But you had an experience. I remember you telling me that you had a 5D experience way back in like 95 or something. And I remember you talking about the colors in the sky that you saw and all this amazing things that went on. Can you talk a little bit about your 5D experience and what that was?
I have to say it was an astonishing experience. I had been invited by a friend to take a class in relationships as it relates to the Course in Miracles. Okay. So every week for 6-7 weeks, we went and took this class. Now, when I do something, I dive in 100%. Okay. So I dove into this, I recorded it. I went home and I listened to it several times during the week. And what happened over a period of weeks was that I realized that it was a hologram, that every bit of it was in every bit of it. And it was so interesting as I would listen and I would hear the entire course in everything that I was listening to. And then the other thing that was really interesting is every time I would go to the class, I would come back out to the car and there would be bird dew on my windshield. And I was not parked under a tree. And it happened every time, and it started to scare me. I thought, is this warning me? Is this not right? You know, am I being led in the wrong direction? You know, I was really nervous about it. And so one day I was an interior designer in Salt Lake City at the time, and I was waiting for a contractor to come to the house to pick up some papers for this client's job. And I left the front door open. I said, the door will be open. The packet's right there on the stairs. Well, I waited and I didn't hear him. And finally I thought, okay, I'm going to go see if he's come. If not, I think I'll close the door, you know? And so I went there and he had picked it up, but I looked down at the carpet and I went, what is that? There was this like grayish spot on the carpet, and I touched it and it was soft, and I went, oh my God, this is bird poo. Oh my God. And I walked into the living room, and I kid you not, there was bird poo all over the living room, on the sofas, on the picture. The bird was sitting on a lamp, the top of the lampshade, and there was dripping bird poo down the side of the lamp. Oh my gosh, I'm like in a panic, because I was living in this woman's home, sharing the home with her, and this was her furniture. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And so I just hurried to clean everything up. But first I got the broom. I opened the back sliding door. I got the broom, and I thought, okay, I've got to usher this bird out the back patio onto the deck. And I finally did it. And that little stinker, he turned and looked at me, and he gave me one of these, and then he flew away. And that scared me to death. I thought, what is this bird poo stuff? And so I called my friend that I was taking the class with, and I said, This is what I'm getting. What is going on? And she said, oh, don't even worry about it. She said, birds are seventh dimensional messengers. They're trying to tell you you're going in the right direction. The only birds that warn you of danger are crows and owls. But the average birds around us, they're just reinforcing your magnificence, reinforcing where you're going. And once I turned that corner, then I started to feel like I was in a mirrored cylinder. Like wherever I turned, I saw myself. And I couldn't get away from myself. I just wanted to run and not stop. Just run, 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 run. And finally, after a day or so, that dissipated. And so everything was kind of on an even keel. Now, a lot of other little things were happening about like me manifesting my current husband. All of that was becoming very, very apparent that something like that was coming. And so then I had to go to California and work with some design clients there. And so while I was there, this is when the huge shift into the fifth dimension actually occurred. And all of a sudden, everybody I saw, even my clients that I'd known before and the subs who were doing the work for me, I had this godlike love for them, this overwhelming, astonishing love for these people. And I was just in awe. I didn't even know how to respond. Out on the street, the people I would see on the street. And I have to tell you again, it was astonishing. I had never felt anything this intense before in my life. Then I was driving down the San Diego freeway the next day. And I'm driving along.
I'm not leaving. I'm going to get your stuff. Okay.
Karen, mute your mic, honey.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. And I look up into the heavens. I'm about by the Del Mar Fair area, and I look up into the heavens, and I could not believe what I saw. I saw ribbons of love energy that centered around everything. They were literally like pink red ribbons of love, and I knew instantly what it was. And I started to sob. I had to pull off to the side of the freeway and just cry and look up and cry. I couldn't even comprehend the depth of what I was seeing. And it was like a delineation, okay? It's like everything where those ribbons were and above was just light and glory and love. And everything, it was like, this is really weird because I see the duality. Everything below was third dimensional and everything above was fifth dimensional. And I wrote a bunch of poems about it. And then the thing that happened later that day, I mean, I was in a completely different frequency. And I was staying with my daughter, Stacy, in Lemon Grove. And that night, when I went to bed, and I had to go to work again the next morning. And when I got in bed, it was a full moon. And all of a sudden, I'm hearing bazillions of crickets. I'm hearing cats mating. Okay. You know how they, you know, and I'm like, whoa, I need to go to sleep. Well, in my daughter's bedroom, she had this big aquarium full of rats. She had 3 or 4 rats that she just loved that were her pets. And they were just like everywhere. Okay. Making noise. And I thought, how am I going to go to sleep? I got all this stuff. And then all of a sudden, everything went quiet except for one cricket. The cat stopped. The rats stopped. It was silence except for the one cricket. And I'm going, whoa, this is interesting. And then all of a sudden, through my feet, another being entered my body. And I'm like, whoa. And I started to feel really tight. It was a feeling of tightness, but I knew that another soul had entered my body. And I'm like, whoa. And I could tell I was communicating with this being unconsciously. I couldn't consciously understand what was going on, but there was communication going on. And my practical nature, having to work the next day, I finally said, look, I don't know who you are. I don't know why you're here, but I got to work tomorrow. I need to go to sleep. Okay. So get it over with. You know, the practical Taurus, I'm having the most extensive spiritual experience of my life. And I'm saying, I got to be practical about this, guys. You have to laugh at yourself, right? And so finally, it left. And I felt it leave. And then the cats started mating again. The rats started making noise. And all the crickets started again. And I'm just stunned. Absolutely stunned. And so I go to work the next day and I'm meeting with these clients and I'm feeling this juicy, wonderful love for all these people. I didn't know how to act. I mean, it was like, whoa, okay. And so when I got home from that trip, all of this information started coming, this creativity. Now, I will tell you that that space, that frequency is like honey. It just is like warm honey, just rich and beautiful. And it just permeates everything with its sweetness and love. And so I'm getting these ideas. I need to write this book. I need to write this book. And I got the name for the book, Words of Love for Men. Okay. And then I got all these chapter headings. Okay. And I had the structure of it. And every day I would work a little more on it and start filling in the chapter headings. Okay. And writing poetry. Like I wrote a poem about the crickets and that whole experience. I wrote a poem about what I saw, the ribbons in the sky. And there were other things too, more detailed things. But what also happened, and this is so astonishing still to me, is the house I was staying at had a baby grand piano. And I would go in and start writing this song on the piano. Now, bear in mind, I wrote it in a key that I was not familiar with. I wrote all the music down as it would come to me, and I would play it. And to this day, I can't read what I wrote. At the time, I could. At the time, and then after I met my husband, and he did music, composing with sound font technology, he orchestrated the song for me, and it is astonishingly beautiful. I named it Illusions of Love. That's what I named it. So all of this stuff is just flooding into me, all of this information. And I was like in heaven. I mean, you're just like in heaven. It's just total intense love and creativity everywhere. Not really much else. And then out of the blue, my daughter, Rinda, and I know a lot of you know her, she was brutally stabbed in a park in San Diego. And I had told her, don't see this particular man. Okay, Mom, I won't. Well, you know, teenagers. And she went in and met this guy at night in the park, and he was seeing another woman who was a very violent woman. And she walked up to Rinda. Rinda was sitting on a bench, and this woman walked up to her and said, "Do you have the time?" And Rinda says, "Well, no." And the lady had a knife, a sharp knife in her hand, and she went like this over Rinda's face. She cut her nose in half and cut all the way, missed her facial nerve by like 1/8 of an inch. And Rinda got up and started to run, and this woman ran after her, stabbing her in the back, punctured her lung. And the guy, the idiot guy that was there, ended up calling 911. But what happened, when I found that out, I got the phone call. I went from the greatest love and joy that I'd ever experienced to the deepest grief I could possibly imagine. And when you feel that kind of grief, it knocked me out of 5D. It just absolutely knocked me out. And you don't really realize what will come out of you at a situation like this. Now, of course, I'm very controlled. I always try and keep really controlled. But guys, I screamed bloody murder. I just screamed and screamed and screamed, how could this be? And so I went, it was just this duality of being in this beauty and love in the fifth dimension down into that grief that lasted a long time because I had to try and get her in school. It was so interesting. The day after this happened, I flew to California and met her in the hospital. And Stacy, my daughter Stacy, came out and she said, "Mom, you can't cry. Brenda says you can't cry when you go in. Don't you dare cry." I thought, okay. And I walked in, and fortunately, Mercy Hospital in San Diego had a plastic surgeon on that night. And, you know, she had stitches. As she was running away from this woman, her face literally fell into her hand. And so we went through that. I took her back home to Salt Lake City and tried to keep her in school. There was just no way. People were treating her like a gang member and a hoodlum. And, you know, it just became impossible. And the grief was palpable. And as astonishing as the love was. Isn't that interesting? And I realized that what I was given was a gift to be able to know what was possible. And I will tell all of you, it is possible and it is worth the effort. And I've read from other people who have been in that realm who felt just like I did. You don't ever want to leave it once you're there. You don't ever want to go anyplace else. It is so spectacular. And I have worked diligently to try and get back there to the extent that I was during that time. And I've come close, but not in, I mean, I was ensconced in that realm. So I want you guys to know what's possible and how important it is to do your spiritual work and to develop that connection with your creator. Okay. Whatever concept you have about it. Go ahead, Miss.
Well, and also to remember that it's not a place, it's a state.
Yes.
That,
right.
Yeah, it's not a place that you go. It's every, like, you know, explaining, I saw in the chat that what is 5D for those people that don't know. If you think about, like, we live in the third dimension, this solid, like, you've heard that. We all know we live in the third dimension. Well, as you move higher, and there's a frequency in the third dimension, and you go into the different frequencies, there's the 4D and there's 5D, and there's also other dimensions, like beyond. But it's these dimensions that we're shifting into. And I think right now it's becoming, I'm not going to say easy, but it's easier because the Schumann resonance, the actual frequency of the planet is increasing. The more and more the truth is revealed, that super high frequency, and getting yourself into a state of just relaxed joy and peace and calm allows you, the actual frequency of your being shifts. You can actually, and if you know how to do muscle testing, you can find out actually what your frequency is. You can ask your body, if you know how to do muscle testing and all of that stuff, you can actually find out what frequency range you're in. But you can kind of gauge it also based off of, if you're familiar with Abraham Hicks, she has a chart, which is really interesting. No, I don't think she wrote the chart. Someone did. I can't remember who it was, but there's a chart of all the emotions, because they've actually mapped out they've
Agreed.
mapped out, because they can measure, they have machines that actually can measure the frequency of anything. And so what they've done is put you in a state, and so they can measure the frequency of joy, love, anger, fear, aggression, jealousy. They can measure all those, so you can determine, you kind of know, you can see where these higher frequencies take you into these states of love, which are these fifth dimensional frequencies. What was that, Mom?
Well, I was going to say there's a book out called Power versus Force. And that book lists the frequency of emotions, the frequency of words. Now we know what Emoto did with the frequency of water, and how our spiritual thoughts or our loving thoughts impact the quality of our water. Okay. That water also, we create a frequency in our water by our emotions and our love and our happiness and our words. When we were buying water in those big jugs, I would write joy and love and happiness around my water bottle, because it helped lift the frequency of the water we were drinking, because there is frequency and power in those words.
You know, when
And
you,
it doesn't just, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, you know, you're using the word state. It's been triggering with me, you know, the term deep state that we're probably all heard. So people that are in the deep state are really low. They're down there and talk about asleep, you know, versus becoming awake. So.
Right.
Yep.
I know that people have questions. Mark, have you received any questions?
Oh, and also, you guys, when the frequency, like with the emotion and the high vibration words and prayers on water, doesn't just change the frequency, it changes the structure. It literally changes the structure. It harmonizes the structure. And what's his name? And you can actually go and take a look at the pictures of water that he did before and after the prayers, and actually how the structure crystallized, and these beautiful, beautiful. And just to think, if it can affect water like that, and your body's 80–90% water, maybe more, what your thoughts are doing to your own body, like your own being, and you can restructure. This is how we can also start to heal ourselves, and these types of things, is getting into these higher frequencies. Okay, I'm sorry about that, but questions? Sorry, Mom.
That's okay.
Yeah, Professor
Emoto.
Emoto.
Yeah.
Thanks, Catherine.
Mark, what have you got for us?
You know, I've only had a couple of questions, and they mostly have to do with the fifth dimension. Let me see here. Monica Takala wants to know, what kind of bird was it in the living room when you found the bird poo all over the house?
It was probably, you know, I was so distraught over what was occurring and the mess I had to clean up, the practical nature I have here, that I didn't look at it specifically.
Okay.
For Mark, I would say it's probably a sparrow or something.
Now, Adrian Batten and Christy, I'm going to say Rohrmeyer. I'm sorry if I slaughtered that. Would like to know more about the fifth dimension. For one thing, why skip the fourth dimension? And my understanding is that the fourth dimension is time. And then can you explain the fifth dimension for novices?
Well, the only way I can explain it is the emotions and what you feel when you're there. You will know you're there, okay? And I think all you can do is to continue to every day spend time raising your frequency so that you're more and more comfortable and you easily slip into that space. But Mark is right. The fourth dimension and the third dimension have to do with time. Now we know there's no time. Man created the time, okay? And so when you go into the fifth dimension, there really is no time. It's just constant. It, like I said, it's just like flowing honey. It's just, I don't know how else to describe it. But we know that that dimension is the dimension of the new earth, whether it's a pull apart or just higher where we are, and we're just not visible to the third dimensional group. But it has to do with, I believe, what's predicted in the Bible, in Revelations, where we will, and I don't think it's all in Revelations, I think Isaiah talked about it as well, where we'll be in this realm of just total fifth dimensional behavior and emotion, where we love each other, there's no fighting, there's nothing like what we deal with in the third dimension. There's no greed. And what causes so much of the problems in the world is greed. So none of the third dimensional emotions will you feel up there. All that stuff will be gone. It's like what they, this is the dawning of the age of Aquarius, where it's love and joy and peace for 1,000 years, it talks about. So that's the way, that's the only way I know of describing it. And what I told you is how it made me feel. And so that's what you want to pay attention to. I got to tell a little story on Misty here. Misty has a lot of air energy, and so she kind of doesn't like to get emotional. She's all out here. And like, don't drip on me. Okay, Mom, don't drip on me. And she knows I cry all the time. And so she was at one of her group meetings, and I don't know the name of the group, I always forget, but Marianne Williamson came to speak. And Misty started to cry a couple of times. She said, oh my God, I'm turning out just like my mother. Oh my gosh. And you've never experienced that before, had you, honey?
I've never been overwhelmed by someone's presence before. And it wasn't her presence. It was that she's a warrior, and just this warrior that's there fighting, she just like this, and she's tiny, she's so little. And there's this little person that's just this, like you said, the lion, like we were these lions inside, and just to watch this little tiny, but fierce lion walk in the room, and just like the power of her passion and her drive to spread truth and stuff was just really powerful. There's another question that came through that's really interesting that I think you need to answer. But before that, another thing that I found that's really interesting from the research I've been doing, I don't know if you know much about this, Mom, is you guys know how like in 2012, on December 21st, 2012 was the end of the Mayan calendar and the end of the world, and then nothing happened. What I've come to find out is that wasn't the end. That no. there was a shift to go, and that actually this December 21st, 8 years later, December 21st, 2020 is the end, and it's not the end of the world, it's the end of the time cycle. So it's like you said, moving into the age of Aquarius, we're ending this time cycle, moving into another. So everything's going to shift and be different. It's just going to, because we're ending this cycle. And I think that's why everything's ramping up, and everything, the girl that just made a comment that, the end of the world as we know it, yeah. But as we're moving towards this ending time, you can feel the intensity just heighten. Like everything's just like building up to this moment of when we make the shift. And I think for me, the way that I see it, and learning from you too, is that this is an opportunity. This is a portal, and opening up for the shift to really happen and us move into the light, and for more people like helping to wake the sleeping lion. So if people weren't aware of that, do some more research on the December 12th, the Mayan calendar ending. It's actually this year on the 21st. So I find that really interesting. Did you know any more about that, Mom?
Yeah, well, one of the reasons that there was a discrepancy, first we thought it was 2012, but what happened is that we went to the Gregorian calendar, and that's what shifted it by about 8 years. And so that's what brought it forward to December 21st, 2020.
I have a comment on that date, because
Yeah.
I work a lot with numbers. I like numerology. So if you look at that, the solstice, it is 12/21/2020. When you add all that up, it comes to the number 1. That's the beginning. And then there's been a lot of this talk about darkness to light. Okay, we're going to start getting lighter from that day forward. The other thing I thought was really interesting, and who knows what's going to happen on the inauguration day, but you look at that date, and that is 1/20/2021, which you've heard of palindromes like Abel was I ere I saw Elba. Well, it's exactly the reverse, no matter which way you write it, backwards or forwards. That date, there's something special about that date too.
Yeah.
Oh, what?
And of course, we have
Awesome.
no idea at this juncture what's going to happen with that, or if there will even be an inauguration day. But yeah, these are extraordinary times, and these are the times that have been prophesied by not only the Mayans, but the Incas were very much involved in this kind of thing, and keepers of time and what would happen during the course of time. It's interesting also. I was raised Mormon, and I read the Book of Mormon more than once. And one of the things that it points out that's always stuck with me is the pattern that man works with, which is you're humble, you're sweet, you're loving, everything's groovy, you're taking care of your neighbor, and then you evolve up to here, and then greed and ego and power hits, and then it's the fall of the civilization. And then it starts all over again. You start with doing all the right stuff and being good and spiritual, and you get up here, and then the ego hits, and the greed and all of the bad stuff hits again. And then the civilization falls. And this is a pattern. I think the Book of Mormon probably talked about maybe 9, 10 civilizations where that pattern occurred. And we're in that pattern. The Native Americans talk about it in terms of the ages, ending of a particular age. And we've just finished, Mark, what era did we just finish with the Native American? Is it the 6th?
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Well, the Native Americans talk about the different ages, like the age of the dinosaurs.
Oh, they talk about the worlds that we've inhabited. They
Mm.
actually talk about worlds. They talk about this being, I believe, the 3rd or 4th world. And the first world was destroyed in this way, and the second world was destroyed in that way. And it mainly has to do with greed and licentiousness.
And it ushers in the next world.
Yeah, but there's a whole cosmology there, and each of the different tribes has a different take on that cosmology. I'm not really qualified to speak on it. They do talk in terms of worlds, I know that.
Mm-hmm. Does anybody else have any more information on that? Because I think that's something that you may want to Google.
Yeah, and Mom, there's another question. Karen asked, I'm confused about how divided our country is and how we can move forward to a new earth. I've lost friends at work at a hospital with a very different mindset than I have.
I think when you get out of judgment and move into acceptance, then what other people think and say, you just aren't worried by it. You're not triggered by it. And that's what we want to all, that space that we all want to come to, which is we're at peace. We don't have to judge other people. We don't even have to judge ourselves. We're just out of judgment. And we accept that that other person has a different philosophy. We don't hate that person. We don't judge that person for that philosophy. We're at peace. And when you find that peace that surpasseth all understanding, that's where you want to come from. And the measure of success in life is peace. It's not money. It's nothing else but peace. That's the measure of success. And so when you have that peace that surpasseth all understanding, it doesn't matter what other people do. You know, that's their job. Your only job is here. And when you've reached that point of love and frequency where you're at total peace, that's really all that matters.
And also learning to trust that, if you want to call it God or creator, it's not in your hands. To trust. I remember when I first created Groove, I wanted to save the world. with groove. I'm like, I'm going to get the world grooving, and I'm going to make everyone wake up and become aware and conscious. Because if you're aware and conscious, you're going to make better choices. And that was my thing. And I put like that on a weight on my shoulder. Like I had to go wake up the world and da, 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 da. And I really, like, for years, and I was exhausted. And then it finally dawned on me that that's not my job. My job is for me to shine as bright as I can shine and keep my frequency. And just, even Marianne Williams said it, that's who said that speech about our power, not our fears. It's our light, not our darkness, that scares us. And that it is that our true power, that you are, just your presence alone will shift those around you.
Mhm.
And that's where the work comes in, is that you just shine bright, not trying to change anyone, not trying to wake anybody up, not trying to just fight with them about theory and politics and beliefs and COVID and all this. And I mean, I could all day long because I love it, but I realize it doesn't go anywhere, and it doesn't get you anywhere. And it just creates tension. Like you said, Kristen, like you lost friends and people because you guys see it differently. And the key is just to know that what you know and who you are and what you believe, and allow them to have whatever it is they want to believe, and trust the process, and just keep shining. Just like my mom said, go to peace and love.
Yeah.
Love them for who they are and where they are in their process and what they believe. And that is also the beauty of life, is that we all kind of have our different beliefs, you know?
Yeah.
It's just, you got to manage your own world. Your own inner world is your job.
Thank you. I appreciate this. I feel a little ganged up on, I guess, at work sometimes, but I will go to work. I will not let it affect me, and I will shine there. I'm not going to, whatever they believe is fine. I'll try not to be affected like I am.
But she's concerned about losing her job because she works in a hospital and they might force her to take the vaccine.
Yeah, a lot of people are concerned about that. I
Well,
am.
then
I will never take the vaccine. No.
Yeah. And and that's where I knew it at some point when this whole COVID thing hit. Instantly, it hit me so deep that no matter what, and I don't know if it's the vaccine, but everyone is going to have to make a choice. And it's going to come down to a point, and I don't know if it's the vaccine, but it came to me very loud and clear. And all I've been telling my friends is, it's going to come to a point, just wait. We're all going to have to make a choice. And we're either going to have to stand in the light, or we're going to have to support the dark.
Mhm.
And it's one or the other. We're going to have to make that choice, who we are and what we stand for, and what that means. And you can start to feel that coming now. Like you can start to feel, I'm going to have to stand for my rights. I'm going to have to stand for the light. I'm going to have to stand for truth and be
Freedom.
willing to, and freedom. And I think at some point, like you said, like we don't know what the results of those choices are going to be, but I do know that we're all going to be faced with, we're all going to have to make a choice. Something's going to happen. We're going to have to make a choice. And I don't know what that is.
It's my understanding that 2021 is the year of choice. We're all going to have to choose. Yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah, we don't want to go too much longer and keep everybody, because we do want to have this on a replay. And you guys, any other questions that came through, if you want to quick put it in your email, my mom could send you a message and answer your questions. And also, like my mom is running specials. If any of you guys are interested in doing readings with my mom, it's a wonderful, awesome experience, learning more about yourself and also getting a lot of good one-on-one time, just to go deep into you and your makeup, your blueprint. So Mark, could you post where in the chat, can you post how they can contact mom for a reading or for the specials, or what the specials are and all that stuff, and people can find out some more information?
I'll also put that below the video on YouTube. Yeah.
I'll take care of that.
Great,
I'm
thanks.
gonna put a link also in the video to my book and also to my song. So if you want to listen to what I created during that time, and I still marvel at it, and I keep thinking I need to write another book, and oh, it's so hard compared to then. When I did it then, being in that dimension, it was so easy, and now it's like, oh, it's so hard.
We got to do our work. So you
I
guys,
know.
I just want to say thank you to all of you guys for coming. It's so cool to see that there's other people that have the same interests that I do, and we're fascinated by this, and we're all on the same page. And I know there's lots more of us out there, but like my mom said, it's really about us uniting, and about it's a coming together. And unfortunately, since it's not physically, we have to do it like this. But also just through mental and through our hearts, and harmonizing in that globally, and just you know, as you end this call, just everyone that's on this call, just beaming out love to everybody and peace, and that what you want for yourself, you want for everyone else on the planet, and in our way that we can unite and get the answers that we need. And oh, the 21st, I'm looking forward to that day. I'm just looking for the truth, man. I don't know about you, but I am just waiting for the truth to be revealed and some shit to go down. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and remember that the only thing that separates us are our beliefs. If we strip away our beliefs, we're all the same. We all want the same things. So don't let our beliefs destroy our ability to love each other. You know, there's many, many ways to God, not just one way. And we don't want to judge other people, and then we lose our frequency when we do that. Stay out of judgment, stay out of fear. Don't worry about the beliefs of other people. Just beam the love. Now, one of the things that I found, and I'll tell this quickly, is doing Akashic readings, is that the information that's coming through those readings now is so fascinating that so many of these people that I'm doing these readings for chose to come at this time because the earth was in trouble, and that their whole thing is to unite with other light workers to shift the light to light on the planet. That's the big job. And I think it's so interesting to see how many people made that choice before they ever came here, knowing the work that needed to be done.
Well, and I think we're all here at this time, and not by accident. I don't know what it is. I don't understand it all, but we're here at this time on this planet during this bag of bullshit. I'm just saying, for some reason. And we are, I just know that we're the warriors, and it's, yeah. Wow. So anyways, thanks again, you guys. Hopefully we can do this again, maybe soon, if you guys enjoyed it, and we can ask other questions, and maybe we'll do a follow-up after the 21st and see what happens. That'd be really interesting to do a follow-up and kind of just see what's been revealed and what's happened and what's shifting, and but get some questions prepared or some ideas, and we'll do a little bit more Q&A. But thank you, Mom.
You're welcome.
Mom's the best. And you guys, thanks for coming. Thanks for being here. You can unmute your mics.
Thank all of you for your magnificence and sharing your magnificence with the world. That's what we're here for.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
That's what we do. So if you're not dancing with me online, those of you that aren't dancing with me, join me, because that's a super fun high frequency experience.
Yep.
If you want to raise your vibe on a regular, just dance with us. Dance is another great way to keep your frequency super high. And that's my secret. My secret weapon on the planet is to help raise frequency through movement and dance. So if you need a little taste of movement and make your body feel better,
and
please join me.
All creativity is high frequency. Did you know that? So be involved in creativity every day, because it helps raise your frequency. It can be dancing, writing, painting, like I work with gourds or mosaics or whatever. It's creative. Work with it every day.
And whatever you're doing creatively, just wiggle your ass a little bit, and it makes the frequency a little higher. Just say it, add a little dance, little butt wiggle, draw your name with your butt once a day and see what happens.
Well, and my people don't really know much about Misty, but Misty is the originator of the World Groove movement, and she takes it all over the world. She has thousands and thousands and thousands of people that dance with her. So look her up if you want to start getting your body going.
We have so much fun. So just if you want more about me, it's the World Groove Movement. You can go to Facebook. You can see all of our events we have online that are free. You can join us for Zoom dance parties, stuff like that. So if you need a little bit of that in your life. Jen, I see a bunch of my groovers out there. I see you all. I see you groovers out there, Monica, Janelle, Jen, Kathy. I see y'all. Awesome. All right. So you guys, we'll let you go now. Thanks for being here.
Love to everybody.
Bye, everybody. Have a great day.
Bye.